Have you ever wondered what would happen if someone treated you badly, not knowing you had the power to change their entire life? Well, that's exactly what happened on Flight 218, and what you're about to read will leave you speechless. Before we begin this incredible story, please hit that like button, share this with everyone you know, and subscribe to Echoes of Stories. We love hearing from you, so drop a comment telling us where you're watching from right now. The airport was busy that Tuesday evening. People rushed everywhere, dragging suitcases, checking phones, and hurrying to catch their flights. Among all these travelers was a woman named Maya Thompson. She wore simple jeans, a comfortable sweater, and carried a small black bag over her shoulder. Nothing about her screamed important or special. She looked just like anyone else trying to get home after a long day. Maya stood in line, waiting to board Flight 218. She held her phone in her hand, looking at her boarding pass on the screen. Seat 2A. Business class. She wasn't flying fancy because she liked to show off. She was flying business class because she needed some quiet time. Her brain was tired from too many meetings, too many decisions, and too many people wanting her attention. This flight was supposed to be peaceful. A few hours where nobody knew who she was or what she did. Just a regular woman on a regular flight. When her boarding group was called, Maya walked down the long tunnel that connected the airport to the plane. Her footsteps were quiet. Her face was calm. She had done this 1,000 times before. As she stepped onto the aircraft, a young flight attendant smiled at her politely. "Welcome aboard," the attendant said sweetly. Maya smiled back and nodded. The attendant had no idea who Maya really was, and that was perfectly fine with Maya. Sometimes it felt good to be invisible. She walked down the narrow aisle between the seats, counting the row numbers as she went. Row 1, row 2. There it was. Seat 2A. But when Maya reached her row, she stopped. Someone was already sitting in her seat. A man sat there, leaning back like he owned the place. He wore an expensive suit that probably cost more than most people's rent. His watch gleamed under the airplane lights, big and shiny. His hair was perfectly combed. He looked like the kind of person who always got what he wanted. His name tag, clipped to his jacket pocket, read Richard Bennett. Maya took a breath and spoke politely. "Excuse me, sir. I think you're sitting in my seat." Richard didn't even look up. He was busy scrolling through his phone, his thumb moving fast across the screen. "No, I'm not," he said flatly, like he was talking to an annoying fly. Maya checked her phone again, just to be sure. Yep. Seat 2A. Boarding Group 1. She was definitely in the right place. "Sir, I have Seat 2A. My ticket says so right here." Richard finally looked up, but not in a nice way. He rolled his eyes so hard it looked like they might roll right out of his head. "Listen, I've been flying with this airline for 20 years. 20 years. I know my seat. You people always get confused about where you're supposed to sit." Those words hung in the air like a bad smell. You people. Maya felt them land in her chest, heavy and ugly. A woman sitting across the aisle looked up from her book, her eyes wide. A man 2 rows back stopped putting his bag in the overhead bin and stared. But Maya didn't yell. She didn't cry. She didn't make a scene. Instead, she kept her voice steady and calm. "I promise you, sir, this is my assigned seat. Perhaps you could check your ticket." Before Richard could answer, a flight attendant walked over. This one was older than the one at the door, with tired eyes and a forced smile. "Is there a problem here?" she asked, looking between Maya and Richard. Richard pointed at Maya like she was a misbehaving child. "Yes, there's a problem. This woman is trying to take my seat." Maya held up her phone so the attendant could see. "Ma'am, my boarding pass clearly shows Seat 2A." The flight attendant pulled out a small tablet and tapped on it a few times. Her eyebrows squeezed together. Mr. Bennett, according to our system, you're actually in Seat 3C." Richard's face turned red. He let out a laugh, but it wasn't a happy laugh. It was the kind of laugh that made you uncomfortable, sharp and mean. "That can't be right. I'm a platinum member. Do you know what that means?" I always get priority seating. I always get the front row. There must be some mistake in your computer. Sir, the attendant said carefully, the system shows. I don't care what your broken system shows, Richard interrupted, his voice getting louder. You people always think you can bend the rules. Always causing problems where there shouldn't be any. There it was again. You people. This time, several passengers heard it clearly. Phones came out. A teenage girl in row 3 started recording. An older man shook his head in disgust. Whispers started spreading through the cabin like wildfire. Is this really happening? Someone muttered. I can't believe he just said that, another voice whispered. Maya felt every eye on her. She felt the heat rising in the airplane cabin. She felt the weight of judgment, embarrassment, and anger all mixed together. But she had been in difficult situations before. She had faced much worse than this. So she kept her voice calm, even though her heart was beating fast. All I'm asking, Maya said slowly and clearly, is to sit in the seat that I paid for. That's all. Richard leaned back in the seat that wasn't his and crossed his arms. A nasty smile spread across his face. Well, if you don't like it, maybe you should buy your own airplane. The cabin went dead silent. Even the flight attendant's mouth fell open in shock. Nobody could believe what they just heard. The attendant looked nervous now, glancing around at all the watching passengers. She turned to Maya with an uncomfortable expression. Ma'am, maybe, just to keep the peace, you could move to seat 5B for now? We'll sort this whole thing out after we take off. Maya's eyes, which had been soft and patient until now, suddenly became hard as stone. No, she said firmly. I will sit where my boarding pass says I should sit. And I would like to speak with your supervisor. Right now. The flight attendant's face went pale. She exchanged a worried look with another crew member standing near the cockpit. Ma'am, we really don't need to make this bigger than it is. You already made it bigger, Maya replied quietly, but her words cut through the air like a knife. I didn't. He did. You did. Now get your supervisor. The attendant hurried away, her shoes clicking quickly on the floor. Passengers continued whispering. Phones continued recording. Richard sat there, still smug, still confident, thinking he had won. He had no idea what was about to happen. Nobody on that plane did. And that's when everything began to change. A few minutes passed, and those minutes felt like hours. The entire cabin waited in uncomfortable silence. Some passengers pretended to read magazines. Others stared at their phones. But everyone was listening. Everyone was watching. Then, heavy footsteps echoed from the front of the plane. The captain appeared, tall and broad-shouldered, wearing his crisp uniform with gold stripes on the shoulders. He walked with the confidence of someone who was used to being in charge, someone who expected people to listen when he spoke. His jaw was set firm, and his eyes swept over the scene like a general surveying a battlefield. What's going on here? He asked in a deep, authoritative voice. Richard immediately sat up straighter, pointing at Maya like she was a criminal. Captain, thank goodness you're here. This woman is refusing to move. I was sitting here first, and she's making a huge scene about it. The captain turned his attention to Maya. His expression wasn't friendly. Ma'am, I need you to cooperate. We have a schedule to keep. We can sort out the seating situation after we're in the air. Maya looked directly into his eyes. Her voice was still calm, but now it had an edge to it, like steel wrapped in silk. No, Captain. You can sort it out right now. Check your passenger manifest. Check seat 2A. Do your job. The captain's eyebrows shot up. Nobody talked to him like that. Ever. His jaw tightened, and his voice dropped lower. Ma'am, if you don't cooperate with my crew, I'll have no choice but to remove you from this aircraft. The words fell like a hammer. The cabin, which had been quiet before, now became absolutely silent. You could have heard a pin drop. More phones came out. More cameras started recording. This was getting serious. Maya didn't flinch. She didn't look away. She didn't back down even a tiny bit. Remove me? For trying to sit in my assigned seat? The seat I paid for. You're disrupting this flight, the captain said coldly. That's a violation of airline policy. A brave passenger in row 4 called out, "She's not the one disrupting anything." "He is." The passenger pointed at Richard. But the captain ignored the comment completely. He turned to the flight attendant. "Call security. Have them come escort this passenger off the plane." Maya still didn't move. Instead, she slowly reached into her bag and pulled out her phone. Her fingers moved quickly across the screen. The captain watched her, annoyed. "Ma'am, making phone calls won't change." But Maya wasn't asking for permission. She pressed the phone to her ear. The entire cabin watched, confused. Who was she calling? A lawyer? Her family? The police? The phone rang once, twice. Then someone answered. Maya's voice changed. It was no longer the voice of a tired passenger. It was the voice of someone who commanded rooms full of powerful people. Clear, direct, unstoppable. "It's Thompson. Ground the flight." The captain blinked. "Excuse me." Maya didn't repeat herself. She simply ended the call and looked directly at him. "You'll understand in a moment." The captain's mouth opened to respond, but then something strange happened. The intercom system crackled to life. The gate agent's voice came through the speakers, and it was shaking, trembling with nervousness. "Captain Richardson, we've just received an urgent notice from headquarters. Your flight has been delayed indefinitely. Please stand by for further instructions." The captain's face went from confident to confused in seconds. What are you talking about?" The gate agent's voice cracked. "Sir, the order came directly from corporate headquarters. The flight is grounded until further notice." Whispers exploded through the cabin like fireworks. "What's happening? Did she just ground the flight? How is that even possible?" The captain turned to Maya, his confidence cracking like ice on a frozen lake. His voice wasn't so strong anymore. "Who do you think you are?" Maya stood up slowly. She was shorter than the captain, but somehow, in that moment, she seemed taller than everyone. Her eyes swept across the cabin, meeting the gaze of every watching passenger. Then she spoke, and her words changed everything. "I'm Maya Thompson, founder and CEO of Skyward Airlines Group, the parent company that owns this airline, all of its regional partners, and 4 international subsidiaries." The cabin exploded. Gasps. Shouts. Someone dropped their phone. Richard's smug expression melted off his face like snow in summer. His mouth hung open. His eyes went wide. The color drained from his cheeks. That can't be true," he stammered, his voice suddenly small and weak. Maya turned to face him directly. "It is true. And I just grounded the flight you were so eager to claim as your own. Consider that symbolic." The captain's face had gone completely white. The flight attendant's hands were shaking so badly she had to grab the seat in front of her for support. Passengers were frantically whispering to each other, pulling up search engines on their phones, confirming what Maya just said. "Oh my God, she's telling the truth!" someone shouted from the back. "I just looked her up. Maya Thompson. Theo. She's literally one of the most powerful people in aviation." Richard looked like he might be sick. His expensive suit suddenly didn't seem so impressive. His shiny watch didn't matter. All his platinum status, all his 20 years of flying, all his confidence had vanished in a single moment. Maya addressed the entire cabin now, her voice carrying to every corner of the plane. "I built this company because I believe flying should be fair for everyone. Rich or poor, old or young, no matter what you look like or where you come from. Everyone deserves respect 30,000 feet in the air." She turned to the crew, and her voice became harder, colder. "But tonight, I saw exactly how far we've fallen from that mission. You humiliated a paying passenger without checking a single fact. You took his side immediately, without question, without fairness. You treated his arrogance as truth and my dignity as disruption. The captain opened his mouth. "Ms. Thompson, I didn't know." "Exactly," Maya interrupted, her words sharp as glass. "You didn't know. You didn't bother to check. You saw what you expected to see and acted accordingly. Save your explanations for human resources. You'll have plenty of time to talk to them." A young gate agent appeared at the aircraft door, out of breath and pale as a ghost. "Ms. Thompson, headquarters is requesting confirmation that the flight will remain grounded." Maya didn't hesitate. "Confirmed. No aircraft under my company's name takes off until we fix what just happened here. Not this one. Not any of them." The cabin fell silent again, but this time it was different. It wasn't the silence of discomfort. It was the silence of awe, of justice, of watching something historic unfold in real time. Maya turned her attention back to Richard, who was now slumped in the stolen seat, looking smaller than anyone thought possible. "You wanted to feel important, Mr. Bennett. You wanted everyone to know you were special. Well, congratulations. You'll be famous. Every news article, every headline, every broadcast tomorrow morning will remember your face and what you did here tonight." Richard's lips moved, but no sound came out at first. Finally, he managed to whisper, "I didn't mean to. I wasn't trying to." "Yes, you were," Maya said simply. "That's exactly the problem. You meant every word. You meant every action. And now you'll own every consequence." She turned away from him and faced all the passengers who had been watching this drama unfold. Some were still recording. Some had tears in their eyes. Some were smiling with something that looked like hope. "You can all deplane now," Maya announced. "Full refunds will be processed immediately. Vouchers for future flights will be sent to your email within the hour. And starting tomorrow morning, this airline begins mandatory retraining for every single employee. From the ground crew who check your bags to the pilots who fly the planes. Nobody works until respect does." For a moment, nobody moved. Then, slowly, someone in the back started clapping. Then another person. Then another. Soon the entire cabin was filled with applause, thunderous and genuine. Some passengers stood up. Others were filming with shaking hands and tears streaming down their faces. This wasn't just about a seat anymore. This was about something bigger. Something that mattered. Richard remained frozen in seat 2A, the seat that had started everything. The captain's eyes were fixed on the floor. The flight attendant looked like she wanted to disappear. Maya picked up her small black bag, slung it over her shoulder, and walked toward the aircraft door. Her footsteps were steady. Her head was held high. She didn't look back. She didn't need to. The message had been delivered. Justice had been served. And the entire world was about to know what happened on Flight 218. By the time Maya reached her car in the airport parking lot, her phone was already buzzing non-stop. Text messages, emails, calls from her assistant, her board members, her PR team. But she ignored them all for a moment and just sat in the driver's seat, taking a deep breath. She had just done something huge. Something that would change everything. Back on Flight 218, chaos had erupted the moment Maya left. Passengers were frantically calling their friends and family. "You won't believe what just happened. The CEO was on our flight." Someone tried to steal her seat and she grounded the entire plane. The videos started uploading immediately. Within minutes, clips were spreading across social media like wildfire. People were sharing, commenting, reacting. The footage was shaky because it had been filmed on phones, but you could hear everything clearly. Richard's arrogant voice. Maya's calm responses. The captain's threats. And then, the moment of truth when Maya revealed who she really was. By midnight, the story had been picked up by local news stations. By 3 in the morning, national networks were calling it breaking news. By sunrise, it was international. The headlines were everywhere. Airline CEO grounded after passenger steals her seat. Arrogant passenger learns harsh lesson about respect. Woman humiliated on flight reveals she owns the entire airline. CEO Maya Thompson makes history with bold stand against discrimination. The video went viral in ways nobody expected. It wasn't just people who loved flying who were watching. It was everyone. Teachers showed it in classrooms to talk about standing up for yourself. Parents showed it to their kids to teach them about respect. People shared it with captions like, "This is what real power looks like," and "She didn't raise her voice, she raised the standard." Within 48 hours, the video had been viewed over 50 million times. Comments flooded in from every corner of the world. "I'm watching from Brazil and I'm in tears." "Sending love from Japan. This woman is a hero." "Watching from Nigeria. We need more leaders like her." "I'm in Australia and I just booked a flight with her airline because of this." But not everyone was happy. Some people criticized Maya, saying she had overreacted. "She could have just moved to another seat," they wrote. "Grounding a whole flight was too much. She used her power like a bully." Maya read those comments too. And when reporters finally caught up with her outside her office building 2 days later, microphones thrust in her face and cameras flashing, they asked her about the criticism. "Ms. Thompson, some people are saying you abused your power. What do you say to that?" Maya stopped walking and looked directly into the cameras. "I didn't abuse my power. I used it exactly as it should be used, to protect people who can't protect themselves. If I hadn't been the CEO, if I had been anyone else, I would have been dragged off that plane. We all know it. The only difference was that I had the ability to fight back. Most people don't. And that's exactly what needs to change." Another reporter jumped in. "What about Mr. Bennett? What consequences will he face?" Maya's expression became serious. "Mr. Bennett has been permanently banned from flying with any airline in our company's network. His platinum status has been revoked. As for the crew members involved, they're currently under review. Some will undergo extensive retraining. Others may face suspension or termination depending on the findings of our internal investigation." "And Captain Richardson?" Maya paused. "Captain Richardson has been suspended pending a full review. We're looking at his entire flight history, every complaint, every incident. If a pattern of discrimination is found, he will be terminated immediately, and we will recommend that his pilot's license be reviewed by the Aviation Authority." The reporters scribbled frantically. "What about the flight attendant who asked you to move?" "She's in mandatory retraining," Maya said. "She's young. She made a mistake, but it's a mistake she can learn from. We're giving her that chance. But make no mistake, if this happens again, the consequences will be severe." Back at Skyward Airlines headquarters, things were moving fast. Maya had called an emergency meeting with every department head. The conference room was packed with nervous executives, all wondering what was about to happen. Maya stood at the head of the table and didn't waste time with pleasantries. "What happened on Flight 218 is unacceptable. It's not just about me. It's about every passenger who has ever been treated unfairly because of how they look or where they come from. And it ends now." She pulled up a presentation on the large screen behind her. "Effective immediately, every single employee of this airline will undergo mandatory respect and anti-discrimination training. Pilots, flight attendants, gate agents, baggage handlers, customer service representatives. Everyone. No exceptions." One executive raised his hand nervously. "Ms. Thompson, that's over 30,000 employees. The cost alone." "I don't care about the cost," Maya interrupted. "I care about doing what's right. If we can afford fancy leather seats and expensive advertising campaigns, we can afford to teach our people how to treat human beings with basic dignity." She clicked to the next slide. "Second, we're implementing a new complaint system. Passengers who experience discrimination will have a direct hotline to a special investigation team. Every complaint will be taken seriously and investigated thoroughly within 72 hours. Another executive spoke up. "What if the complaints are false? What if passengers abuse the system?" Maya looked at him steadily. "Then we'll deal with that. But I'd rather investigate 100 false complaints than ignore one real case of discrimination. Wouldn't you?" The executive nodded quickly and said nothing more. Third, Maya continued, we're changing our slogan. Our new tagline, which will appear on every aircraft, every ticket, every advertisement, is this: respect takes flight here. She let those words sink in. The room was silent. This incident has shown me that we lost our way, Maya said softly. When I started this airline 15 years ago, I was a young woman with a dream. I faced discrimination constantly. Investors didn't take me seriously. Banks wouldn't give me loans. People told me I couldn't do it. But I did it anyway because I believed that flying should be about bringing people together, not tearing them apart. Her voice grew stronger. Somewhere along the way, we forgot that. We focused on profits and growth and forgot about the people who made that growth possible. Not anymore. From this day forward, respect is our priority. Not just in our words, but in our actions. She looked around the room at every face. If anyone here isn't comfortable with these changes, the door is open. I'd rather lose employees who don't believe in treating people fairly than lose my soul trying to please everyone. Nobody got up. Nobody left. Instead, slowly, one person started clapping. Then another. Then the entire room erupted in applause. The changes happened fast. Within a week, the first training sessions began. Maya insisted on attending several herself, sitting in the back of the room, listening to how her employees were being taught. She wanted to make sure it wasn't just empty words on a PowerPoint slide. It had to be real. It had to matter. The airline industry watched in amazement. Other companies started calling, asking about Maya's training program. Some mocked her, saying she was being too sensitive. But many others quietly started implementing similar changes, not wanting to be the next company caught on camera treating passengers unfairly. As for Richard Bennett, his life changed dramatically. The video of his behavior had been shared so widely that he couldn't escape it. His employer, a financial firm that prided itself on diversity and inclusion, placed him on immediate leave and eventually let him go. His face became a symbol of arrogance and prejudice. He issued a public apology, but it felt hollow and forced. People didn't forget. 3 months after the incident, Maya was invited to speak at a major aviation conference. The auditorium was packed with thousands of industry leaders, pilots, flight attendants, and airline executives from around the world. When Maya took the stage, the crowd rose to their feet in a standing ovation that lasted 3 full minutes. When they finally sat down, she began her speech. That night on Flight 218, I had a choice, she said, her voice carrying through the massive room. I could have moved to another seat. I could have stayed quiet to avoid embarrassment. I could have let it go and dealt with it privately later. But I didn't. Do you know why? She paused, looking out at the sea of faces. Because I wasn't just fighting for myself. I was fighting for every person who has ever been treated as less than human. Every passenger who was moved because someone more important wanted their seat. Every traveler who was profiled, searched, questioned, or humiliated for no reason other than what they looked like. The audience was completely silent, hanging on every word. I didn't ground that plane because I was angry, Maya continued. I grounded it because silence is permission. Inaction is agreement. When we witness injustice and do nothing, we become part of the problem. And I refuse to be part of the problem. The applause was deafening. Maya's story became more than just a viral moment. It became a movement. Students wrote essays about her. Business schools used the incident as a case study in ethical leadership. Her company's stock didn't just recover, it soared to record highs. Passengers specifically chose to fly with Skyward Airlines because they knew the company stood for something real. A year later, on the anniversary of the incident, Maya returned to the airport where it all happened. She walked through the same terminal, down the same jet bridge, and boarded a plane to an undisclosed destination. This time, when she reached her seat, it was empty and waiting for her. The flight attendant smiled warmly and welcomed her aboard. The captain made a special announcement thanking her for flying with them. As the plane took off and climbed into the clouds, Maya looked out the window and smiled. She thought about that night a year ago. The humiliation. The anger. the decision to stand up and fight back. And she realized something important. She hadn't just changed an airline. She had changed how people thought about power, respect, and dignity. She had shown the world that real strength isn't about raising your voice, it's about raising the standard. Her silence that night had become a statement. Her dignity had become history. And her refusal to back down had become a lesson that would echo for generations. Because Maya Thompson didn't just ground a plane that night. She grounded arrogance, prejudice, and the idea that some people matter more than others. And in doing so, she proved that respect isn't something you demand. It's something you demonstrate, enforce, and protect at any cost. That's the legacy she left behind. And that's why her story will never be forgotten. If this story moved you, hit that like button right now. Share it with everyone who needs to hear it. Drop a comment below telling us what moment hit you the hardest and where in the world you're watching from. And don't forget to subscribe to Echoes of Stories and turn on notifications, because we bring you real stories about real people who refuse to accept injustice. Stories that remind us that one person with courage can change everything. Thank you for watching, and remember, respect takes flight here.